Well, you're a perfect Cyril. I can't imagine anybody else doing it.
Oh, come on.
Likewise for you playing Pam.
Oh, thanks. So nice. And I'm trying to remember the first time that I met you, and I guess it was at Comic-Con, the first time that we were all at Comic-Con.
I would assume so. That would be my guess, unless it were some TCAs or something. I don't know, but probably Comic-Con in San Diego. Yeah.
Good, so you don't remember when I was stalking you all those years ago.
I had a suspicion, but I didn't want to say anything. Glad you're comfortable talking about it finally.
Well, not really. I'm Amber Nash, the voice of your favorite HR nightmare, Pam Poovey. We're doing an Archer rewatch podcast because I don't have a job anymore. This season, each episode is hosted by me and a guest co-host from the main cast. We will be breaking down fan and cast favorite episodes out of order, so get used to it. Welcome to RePhrasing. I'm going to read a little synopsis from the Archer wiki about the episode. El Contador is the 5th episode of the 3rd season of Archer. Cyril is promoted to field agent while Mallory institutes a strict drug testing policy for her employees. Cyril accompanies Archer and Lana to South America to collect a bounty of $1 million on Roman Calzado. Ray, Cheryl, and Pam enlist Dr. Krieger. Ray, Cheryl, and Pam enlist Dr. Krieger to help them pass the drug test. So this was the first time you were in the field, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big deal for Cyril.
Were you excited about it yourself?
I was. Yeah. Anytime the character gets to do something new and especially something exciting and,
Yeah.
more active, that's fun.
And you were speaking Spanish?
Attempting to.
Do you speak any other languages other than English?
I do not.
Okay. Well, you did great with your Spanish. Do you remember how
Well,
did they have to record it for you and then you mimicked it, or do you remember?
I don't remember. I probably just listened to examples online, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
there was a Spanish speaker in the record session who could correct me. I don't know.
Casey, do you remember? It was a long time ago.
I don't. If we had, it might have been Pierre if we had
Right.
somebody there. Um, but Adam Reed himself is a bit of a polyglot, so
Oh.
he probably would have said something. But I think this was before we started like having somebody record the voice to help you guys out
Yeah,
because
that felt like a later season thing.
yeah.
Wish you guys would have figured that out earlier.
Because in Danger Island, you had to speak a lot of German too.
Right.
Yeah, I did. I would just have to go through and phonetically sort of write it down based on what I could find on the internet. And then, was it Pierre or somebody else who would definitely correct or, attenuate my
We had a
accent?
guy that worked at the studio who was from Austria, but he spoke German and Austrian, and
Wait,
so
isn't Austrian German?
it's like I would assume it's like
Like Pennsylvania Dutch?
Oh, yeah, those Austrian donuts, they're delicious.
I'm trying to think of like a good example, but I don't know of one. But I think it's very close, but there are distinct differences, but it's
Oh.
pretty close.
I didn't know that at all. Yeah, Pam didn't actually end up in the field until season 4. I looked it up, and I thought that for some reason thought that Cyril had been out in the field earlier than season 3, but I was wrong. It was his first
Yeah,
time, and he did a
yeah.
great job.
Well, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah,
He did. I
he
can't take
really
any
did.
credit for it, but Cyril did.
It's funny when we recorded with Aisha, she it feels very much like she played the role, like she was there shooting and playing and was in and did all the things.
Right.
And it's just really, it's fun to think about how everybody approached their characters in different ways. Like when you were recording, like when you were in the booth by yourself, would
Yeah.
you like be physical when you needed to be, and like how would you approach stuff like that? Or like when you were with the needing, because we're with scene partners all the time, but we're just by ourselves and we have nobody to talk to except for Casey. How would you approach that?
I mean, I'm pretty physical in the booth in general. Yeah, if I'm supposed to be talking on the phone, I'm usually holding a phone, and
Yeah,
I just sort of visualize it that way, and my body sort of reacts and
yeah.
does all of that. And then, I'd often read the scenes back and forth with either Casey or whoever, Matt, to sort of give a sense of the back and forth, and that
Yeah,
was
and
very helpful.
did because I know some people did that a lot, Casey, and I used to not do it. I would just do my three lines and then move on. And then I feel like when you started directing the VO sessions, I started doing it more. And was there a lot of like, did a lot of people do readings of the scenes or just more lines, just their own lines?
I think everyone's different of what they prefer. And so I think that's part of, if you're going to be an okay director, you need to learn what everybody likes. So Chris likes to do scenes, but then after the scene is run a couple times, then you like to go back and usually hit your lines like a couple times by themselves. And so, but Aisha doesn't like to do the scenes at all. She just likes to do hers. And I think there's, benefits in both styles. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because I loved it. I loved to read it. Once I started doing it with you, I think I started to really enjoy doing it because it's better for timing. It's just easier. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, and also you don't have to, imagine hearing somebody ask the question in your mind or whatever. It's just,
Right.
it's more instinctual.
And in the first seasons, I mean, especially season one, like we didn't know what it was going to sound like because we hadn't seen the show yet because we were recording it and we didn't know what the timing would be like. We didn't know what the chemistry would be like. And so just imagining what everybody was going to sound like, because later it was easy to imagine because we'd heard everybody so many times. But in the beginning, it was like, shit, we were making it all up.
Yeah. Imagination.
I can say one of the physical things that Chris did was that first suppressing fire. And I don't remember what episode that one's in, but you went so over the top with it, and were shaking while you did the suppressing fire.
In the read, you can hear the physicality.
Yeah.
But a lot of those early episodes, Adam wasn't writing them all before we started recording. He would write one, then we would record it, and then he'd start on the next one. So there was never an idea of a catchphrase until something happened that Adam liked. Then he put it back in. So suppressing fire became a Cyril catchphrase only because of your performance of it.
Oh.
Because it was so great that Adam's like, I got to keep putting that in. He loved it so much.
That's so great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, when people ask, well, you must be so busy, recording Archer. And it's like, I work 8 months a year, every 6 weeks for 45 minutes. It's like the best fucking job ever.
Yeah, no kidding. You got that right.
Too bad it's over, right, Chris?
I don't know.
One of the first notes I made from the episode was of a line that I really loved is when they're talking, Lana is talking about how unqualified Cyril is to be in the field.
Yes.
And she says, some offense, and you say, some taken. And it's just such a great line. I wish that we had that. Did that ever come back in the show? It's so good.
It is a good line. What she said was Cyril is utterly, laughably unqualified to be a field agent. Some offense. That was her line.
Some taken. And then I love when we get the news that we're about to get drug tested, and I totally forgot about this until I watched it. I didn't remember any of the episodes that I've watched so far. Is when Pam is smoking the joint and then ends up beatboxing through her joints, coughing.
Yeah, that really made me laugh. I mean, I just started chuckling because I haven't seen this episode in forever, and so I don't remember too much. But yeah, that was really funny.
Did you watch the shows as they aired, or did you watch them at all? Because I don't think John has watched an episode of the show at all.
Really? Not
That's
even
what he
one?
says.
I don't know if I buy that. I think I would usually watch them certainly in the beginning as they came out, and then later on I got behind, then would have to catch up. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I missed. I think I missed all of or the second half of season 13, and I still haven't watched it. So I need to go back and watch it. And then I got sad about watching season 14, so I just kind of was like, oh, I may never watch it altogether.
I know. It is sad.
It's so sad. And we were talking about how we all kind of got to know each other. Because did you know anybody in the cast before this show? Like, did you know Aisha or Judy?
I knew Judy. I had
Okay.
done a show with Judy, yeah, called Misguided,
Okay.
and which was swell. I never cared for her. I didn't like working with her
She
the
seemed
first
normal.
time, and when I realized I was going to have to work with her again, I was like, ooh.
I never cared for her.
Obviously, everybody loves Judy Greer. She
Yeah.
is
Oh my God, she's the best. She's the best. But then we all kind of got to know each other better when we did the Archer Live shows that were
Yeah.
just so absolutely ridiculous. And I actually have this story that I'll share with you. Because people ask me all the time, like, what you're like or what Aisha's like, and Judy, like, what people are like to work with. And the story that I feel like encapsulates your personality the best to people when I describe you to people is I wonder if you have any recollection of this. We were doing Archer Live, and I think we were in like Milwaukee or something, and we would always usually go to a nice dinner from a restaurant that Aisha would find through her magic, because Aisha will not eat at a place that isn't a good place to eat. And so she would always find great places for us to go eat dinner, and it was always pretty late because our show would get out, at like 10 o'clock, so we'd have to find a nice place that we could eat that was close, that was still serving, that could accommodate all these people. So we're at this restaurant, either in Milwaukee or Chicago, having this nice dinner. And everybody orders, like maybe even Aisha ordered stuff for the table. And you would usually pick the wine, and we would usually get some like appetizers to share. And I ordered soup, which is a very odd thing to order if people are sharing things. And so I get this soup, and I was like, fuck, I shouldn't order the soup. What a weird thing to order if everybody's sharing. And the soup was so good. And I was like, I mean, you guys are welcome to some of this soup if you want to share it with me, which is such a weird thing. And Chris was like, yeah, I'll have some of your soup. And then we just ate the soup together, and it was
wow.
such a sweet memory.
Oh, interesting. It maybe rings the vaguest of bells.
Yeah. You're the
that's
kind of
cool.
guy that'll eat soup with somebody that you know kind of okay.
Well, I guess if I trust that they're a healthy person,
Right.
and
Yeah.
have a clean-looking mouth, probably made a difference too.
Good. That's good to know.
Well, kind of you to offer.
Yeah. I'll share soup with you anytime, Chris.
Thanks, Amber.
Do you
welcome.
remember it was either Milwaukee or Chicago, but one of them had a ping pong table in like the lobby, and we found out that John Benjamin is pretty good at ping pong.
What? I do not remember this.
Yeah.
I remember a ping pong table, I think, down in the dressing area or something, below
Maybe that's
stage.
what it was. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what
And
it
then
was.
we were all in New York for something, and we went to Susan Sarandon's ping pong bar. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And it was like, Susan Sarandon has a ping pong bar?
I know.
And she was like dating a really young guy.
I don't remember that part. It was wild. It was so wild. And I remember being struck by, like, I'd never been in a place that had a bunch of ping pong tables and a bunch of
Yeah.
people, like, at a high level playing ping pong.
Right.
And they had this, like, contraption that they would roll around the floor to pick up all the ping pong balls. That was just, like, this net that was, and I was just like, what are we? And I'm sure I was hammered. It was probably midnight when we got there. And I was like, what is this place? Is this a real memory that I'm having? But Chris, you remember that bar, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I remember
wanna say-
seeing.
There
Go
was
ahead.
a featured match going on too at one point with like an announcer, like calling but like a DJ almost, like
It's just
here we
becoming
go,
more
let's
and
hear
more,
it.
It's more and more unbelievable.
I do. I remember seeing Susan Sarandon there, but I don't think I got to speak to her or anything.
Yeah. And I remember her being, I always feel like this happens, like when you meet a celebrity, especially someone like Susan Sarandon that you've seen in so many things, and like, she's such an icon, and she was like the tiniest person. I feel like I'm always surprised by how tiny people are when I meet them.
Yeah. for sure.
The next thing that I wrote down in the episode that I loved is when Cyril shows up after being told that he needs to dress appropriately for the jungle, and Archer calls him the ghost of Teddy Roosevelt. It's of course that's what he'd wear. Of course.
It's such an amazing outfit. I mean, it was just perfect. It was so beautifully thought out and designed. And...
Yeah. And I actually have a question, Casey or Christian, about this. Obviously, that was written into the script, so you guys knew that he was going to have on like this period costume where he looked like Teddy Roosevelt. But that's not always the case. Like, things aren't always written out in stage directions what things need to look like. So, like, how are those decisions made? And is there like another pass that the writer does with like things like that they want, or is it kind of up to the illustrators and the animators?
I gotta say, Adam Reed is really good at calling out in the script the specific thing that he wants. Or if he doesn't call it out in the script, then he's going to give you a note later about... I mean, I remember on the first... It might have been the second episode. He kept asking for an ice bucket to be drawn for Archer's bar. And then people kept bringing up ice buckets and, you know, like references. And he'd be like, no, not that, not that. It's the ice bucket that my mother had in the 1970s. So it's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
This is going to be impossible to find. But we eventually like narrowed it down. But
So not an ice bucket.
no,
The
the
one.
ice bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's usually really great about being descriptive about like
Okay.
that one. I'm sure was like Teddy Roosevelt, Rough Riders, you know, San Juan Hill or whatever the descriptions were.
Wow.
But as the show got bigger, we got art directors, and there was like a design process. Especially when Archer had like a crazy season, there was a whole round of like redesigning costumes.
I want to say that for Dreamland, we even hired a big time Hollywood costume designer
Wow.
to
Wow.
like send in. Yeah, because she I think worked on I forget what show, but she was like finding stuff and sending it to us.
Whoa.
And it was a big process.
When
you
Probably
say-
way more than we should have been doing.
When you say big time Hollywood costume designer, I just imagine them like blowing in with like lots of scarves flowing off of them and big Hollywood sunglasses.
How many scarves does this require?
It's funny that you mentioned the ice bucket with Adam Reed because I have an ice bucket story about Adam Reed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago. It's the last time that I saw him. He came to Atlanta and he went to dinner with his partner and Kevin and I. And they brought me a gift to the house because I love antiques and Adam knows this about me. So he brought me an antique ice bucket that it's like silver and has like a wooden handle on the top. And in the silver on the sides are these little penguins. And I was like, this is amazing. And he's like, well, you can put ice in it or you can put tomato soup in it and keep it warm. And so the next time he comes over, I want to make tomato soup and serve it in this fucking ice bucket.
I've never heard of that. Soup in an ice bucket, but I guess it could work.
Yeah. I'm going to make a whole cookbook.
I
the same
want to go back
science.
to when we're still in Mallory's office
Okay.
and we hear about me being promoted, and then she demotes Gillette so that he's no longer a field agent. And
Yep.
gosh, what's the line? You call him, do you call him Ironside? Oh, that's later. That's later.
yeah.
You call him Ironside. But when he's leaving the office, sort of despondent, Archer sort of gives this nasty little chuckle as he's rolling out. But that also made me laugh. I just made a note of that.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it when Archer loves that bad shit's happening to people. It's like he just delights in it so much.
It really
And
does.
John's just real good at it. He's real good at personifying that with his voice.
Yes.
Let me see what's next. Oh, the next thing that I have written down, and if you have anything before that, please let me know, is when we cut to everybody in the lunch, in the break room, and Pam is eating out of a crock pot, and Cheryl's eating gummy bears and Ray is eating sushi, and it's just such a perfect encapsulation of everyone's character because of what the horse shit they're eating for lunch is. And then, of course, we find out that Cheryl's gummy bears are, laced with
Something.
something.
I was going to ask, she calls them groovy bears, right? What would you lace it with? It has to be LSD, right? What else do you...
Or like psilocybin, I guess, or...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What were you eating out of the crock pot?
I don't know.
Didn't she say it's like like the fridge special or something? Like,
So gross. Ooh, you just put a bunch of stuff you find in the refrigerator
Right,
and
yeah.
some like chicken broth and then cook it all day.
there's got to be a liquid of some sort.
Oh, that's so gross. Chris, you wouldn't know this. I don't think Christian, you know this either, but Casey does. This happened sometime in a later season when we were at Comic-Con, and it was the cooch chili thing. We were talking about cooch chili. Because what does Pam say? What's the line? Something about she was so hot for somebody that you could warm up chili in her cooch, or I can't remember exactly what the line was. So I started thinking about cooch chili, and I made the joke that I wanted to write a Pam cookbook. And then I actually talked to Casey and Thompson about it and actually made like a first draft of recipes that Pam would put in her fucking cookbook.
Wow.
It was really fun. And Casey named it the Splooshful Gourmet. And it had some great recipes. And this would have been a great one. Just whatever's in the refrigerator, some chicken broth.
Are we ever going to get to see it?
I don't know. Maybe it's lost to time. I still have it.
Yeah.
But nobody wants it, Chris.
Nobody wants it, really? I would think there would be a market for that.
Maybe. We could sell it at like Hot Topic. Are those still around? Well, let's see. This is an animation thing that I really loved. Is when they're in the jungle, that there are constant bugs around everybody. I thought that was just a really interesting thing. Do you have any behind the scenes to let us know about when it comes to the bugs, Casey or Christian?
I think they were
I'm going to say filter.
After Effects plugin, filter. But also on top of that, I think everybody did a really great job of the backgrounds are fantastic.
The jungle is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so dense and it's great.
The backgrounds are fantastic, and then the comping of like that dappled sunlight, like it was through the canopy. I feel like it's one of the first ones I remember of us using that heavy, we call it comp, where after everything's set in there, then somebody else goes in there and layers different lighting effects over top of the characters. And I think it looks so good.
Painting the light in, or painting it out, or painting shadows.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It really makes a difference.
And
I don't want to disparage any kind of, because even when Floyd County would use a filter, it was painted around. It wasn't just a slap-on filter.
Yeah, never. Yeah, it's always custom.
It.
Yeah, it's funny how little work we actually did on the show, Chris, and how much work was being done behind the scenes.
It's true.
I like to say that if you ever wanted to feel bad about yourself as an artist, just walk up and down the aisles at Floyd County and just see people painting the most beautiful backgrounds, or drawing the craziest looking space vehicle. It was soul crushing.
Because they were so much better than you could do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was implied.
I mean, that, and then whenever somebody would come and tour the office, they were shocked at how quiet it was and how everybody was heads down working. I think they think it's going to be like
when Bart goes to Mad Magazine.
Yes, exactly.
Chris, did you ever get to go to the offices?
I did. Yeah.
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 Were you surprised by how boring it was? Because I was.
No, I didn't. I did. I was surprised to hear how quiet it was, but then when I thought about it for a second, it made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
People have their headphones in and they're just focused on what they're doing, and that's the way an office should be.
You're a big proponent of everyone returning to the office, right? You're like, enough of this work from home stuff.
Exactly. I made my therapist return to the office.
I still see my therapist on Zoom. And now, if I actually saw them in person, because I've never met them in person.
Oh, wow.
Because I got a different therapist during the pandemic, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it would break my mind. I'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. She has legs.
Too real.
Yeah, I saw mine in person before the pandemic, but it's actually just it's at
Easier.
least as good on Zoom because it almost feels more intimate in a way, strangely.
Yeah. Because you can be in your pajamas.
Yeah, I don't. I'm more professional than that, but that's cool if you. If that's the way you want to roll, Amber.
Yeah, well, it is. It is. One of the other things that I wrote down, and I don't know if you're going to remember this, Chris, but it's a Comic-Con memory.
Yeah.
In the jungle, Lana, I think, says to Archer, "You're looking for Predator, aren't you?"
Oh, yeah.
And it reminded me of, do you remember the Predator guy at Comic-Con?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, so you remember, and so for people that have not been to on the other side of the experience at Comic-Con, when the actors that show up that are on a show, they end up having to do like a bunch of press. And so there's different levels of press that we do. There's like a red carpet situation where you're being interviewed with people and having your picture taken. And then at the end, you go to this horrifying room that is just a ballroom with tables. And each table has like 5 or 6 people around it. And they would move the cast around to these tables. You remember this part, Chris?
Yeah.
I think they call it round tables or something because they're just. But when I first heard it, I was like, "Ooh, a round table."
Yeah,
but it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, and so these are smaller outlets. So it's people that are podcasters or people that are that write blogs, and so that's why there's so many people. And you're usually each actor is only at each table for like 5 minutes, and there's 6 people asking you questions, so that people don't get a lot of time. But there was one guy at one of these tables that was dressed as Predator. And Jessica was in the room, and we were all kind of clocking this guy like, uh-oh, we're all going to have to talk to the Predator guy.
But also full mask, totally topless with like a mesh tank top on.
That's what Predator wore.
Exactly. I mean, he was full Predator getup.
And I don't know if, Casey, you might know exactly, but I remember Jessica just being like, no. Like, she wouldn't talk to him. She wouldn't sit at that table. She was just like, no.
That feels unsafe.
It does. Casey, do you remember this
That's
happening?
Exactly how I remember it as well.
Okay.
She was just like, I'm not going to sit with that guy. And actually, it turned out that she was the smartest of all of us, because I think that guy might have been a little drunk, too.
Wow.
Or not able to focus in his full Predator
You have to. If you got to get through a whole day dressed as Predator and interviewing celebrities, you got to be a little drunk.
So did he ask questions in the Predator character? English, you can't.
I don't remember. I just blocked it out. And I was like, Jessica did get it right.
Maybe he wasn't drunk. It's just that he was seeing everybody through Predator heat vision, and so he couldn't focus.
Kind of prejudiced against Predator, Casey. You just assume they're all drunk.
There was another great. This happens so often, Chris. I don't know if this happened to you, but when you would get a script from Adam, especially in the early days, there would always be some kind of reference to a historical figure that you've never heard of, like the man that invented elevators or something. And there was one in this episode that I had to look up again. I'm sure I looked it up the first time. Or honestly, if I read something and I didn't have to say it, I wouldn't always look it up, because I was like, oh, well, that's for Chris to deal with. I don't have to deal with this reference. But this one was, I'll actually pull it up because I made a note. The line is just, "Thanks, Marlon Perkins." And I don't remember who says it.
I think Archer says it to Lana, maybe? Yeah,
Okay.
because they're talking about the difference between a tiger and a jaguar, and she points out that tigers don't live in South America. And
Right? Yeah, and then
he's jaguar. Yeah.
he says, "Thanks, Marlon Perkins." And Richard Marlon Perkins was an American zoologist. He's best known as the host of the television program Mutual of Omaha's Wild
Wild
Kingdom
Kingdom.
from 1963 to 1985.
I watched it.
You
Very
did?
Same.
iconic opening sequence
Oh,
to
yeah.
that show.
Definitely.
I don't remember any of this. But in '85, I was like 7, so maybe I missed it. I was a little too young.
Well, no, it wasn't on in '85. But you just said the dates.
Yeah, it ended in '85, 1963 to 1985.
Yeah, I think I watched it in the '70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Mutual of Omaha a bank?
I think it's an insurance company. Is that right?
Sounds about
I
right.
think so. You know, I'll be right back.
We may
I never
never
looked that
know.
hard into it. One thing I remember having to look up in the script was Excelsior. And I did not know what that was. I mean, I know the expression, but it was referring to a physical thing, and it's the wood shavings in a box of like art or a vase or something that's being shipped, and they put these wood shavings in there, they used to cushion it. And that's
Yeah.
what Excelsior is.
What a
which I
weird
didn't know.
name for that thing. It's like
Yeah.
Aisha, actually, we covered the Skytanic episode, and she brought that up.
Oh, did she?
And so I'm actually on a board with Judy for a sanctuary for chimpanzees called Project Chimps.
Oh.
And one of the things that chimps like to have to make their beds out of is this stuff.
Oh, wow.
They call it wood. What do they call it? They call it like shit. I can't remember, but they have a different name for it. And it's because if you have like hay or something, you can't use it again. But this stuff, because it's made out of wood, like once the chimps shit all over it, which is what they do all day long,
Right.
they can wash the wood. They call it wood wool. They wash the wood wool, and then they can give it fresh to the chimps again, so they don't have to constantly be getting new material in.
Oh, interesting. I
Isn't
never
that
heard
cool?
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
And
cool.
so they do still make it, and they do still pack stuff in it, because I think we get ours from like a place that ships. I don't know if this is true, but a place that ships statues.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. That's
And
what
Mutual of Omaha is an insurance company, which
Oh.
is what you think of when you think of wildlife.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to be insured too.
I wanted to say in this episode, and in many episodes of Archer, Cyril gets absolutely mauled by Calzado at the end. Just the shit completely beaten out of him.
He does, yeah.
And I don't know how you felt about it. That's my question to you: is how do you feel about it? Because I know we would make Aisha make that WH apostrophe question mark sound, the what, all the time, and she's like, surely you have this sound. But the same thing with you. We would have Cyril get the crap beat out of him so much. Did you ever think, surely you have enough of me getting beat?
No, well, you know what I thought when I watched it? I couldn't remember if I fought back or not, because I remembered Cyril becoming more capable in later seasons. Not that he was necessarily ever a master hand-to-hand combatant, but I thought, oh, maybe Cyril will fight back. But no, it was not. He was not. He did not. No.
I know for me too. I always like whenever we would have to, and we'd usually save it for the end of a recording session to get like all the exertions, whether it's fights or running or chasing something. And I always remember being like self-conscious about it, because I'm like, is this what somebody that is getting punched sounds like? And the difference between getting punched and punching somebody, and just like all the sounds. And I remember just being like, I would always say, like that? Is that what you guys want? Like that? How was it for you, Chris? Was it ever hard, like, to come up with what those things were supposed to sound like?
Not at all, because I knew what they sounded like, having been punched a lot and given many punches myself.
I forgot what a bruiser you were.
Really was a real hot head, and oh, look out, look out.
I didn't learn until late into the Archer run that those are called efforts.
Oh,
Like we'll get the efforts at the end of the
Right.
I just imagine Hugh Jackman in that scene where he's like watching the Wolverine movie and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's great. It looks great.
Yeah.
breathe heavily, like because you've been running or something, and then having to breathe that into a line read was just always like that's the stuff that I found really fun about learning how to be a voice actor, which I learned to do while making this show.
Well, I would usually run a little bit in place, depending on how out of breath I needed to be,
Yeah.
just to get there.
Totally. It's so fun. And I don't think people imagine that that have never been in a booth recording a show before.
The other thing is video chat is so prolific now. And at the final seasons of Archer, we were using video chat. But really, for a long time, all we did was phone patch. So we never saw what anybody was doing in the booth or anything. It was just, we would just get back these great performances. But we never got to see anybody because we were just over the phone because there were other options, but we always thought the phone was the most stable. Because there was voice IPN stuff. I forget what it's called.
ISDN.
But it was ISDN, right? But it would always drop out at the worst time. So we'll just do phone.
Yeah.
We're old fogies.
It worked, but it was nice to be able to see you guys that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was always there with you guys. So in the early days, we were always in the same room, which was so nice. And then I'd see Lucky there, and it was just so nice to actually get to go to work and see the people that you work with.
And also, to me, it's a lot more intimate again, getting direction from somebody or reading with somebody who's right there on a screen as opposed to way back there in the control room,
Yeah.
who you can kind of maybe see or make eye contact with. That not necessarily on Archer, but on other shows. So it's nice to use the iPad.
Yeah, and I wish. Have you ever done any of the shows that you're on, voice recording wise, where you worked with other actors, or are you always alone like we were?
It's been a while, but at Peabody and Sherman, we would record as an ensemble. Yeah,
Oh, it's so
a
fun.
couple other things. I think Bob's Burgers. I did
Yeah.
Bob's Burgers. Yeah.
I always wanted us to at least do one. I was like, can we just, for the 100th episode, all be together? I'm sure it would have been so much fun, but it's so expensive, and everybody lives different places, and blah, blah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I like doing it solo. It would have been fun, I agree.
Yeah,
But it's so much more efficient to do it
Yeah.
by yourself. And
yeah.
Well, I'll
Get it.
say from an editing standpoint, Archer has very tight editing, and lines almost come on top of each other. I don't know how you would time it out live. I mean, it would have that improvised element, but the Archer timing was very, very specific.
Mm-hmm.
it would
Totally.
be very hard to record that cleanly if everybody was in a room together.
Yeah. The next line that I wrote down was a Pam line that I had forgotten where this was, and it was in this episode. When Gillette says it tastes worse than it smells, and Pam says, "Man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard a guy say that, I'd have 8 nickels."
Yes, I remember that line.
So gross. Oh boy, that's one of the ones that people when I go to cons. People will always say that's a fan favorite for sure, and it's just so Pam, so Pam.
Something I think so. The Ironsides line, I guess, was maybe you, or maybe it was, I don't know if it was you or Cheryl to Gillette saying, "How about you, Ironsides? You rolling dirty?"
That was Pam. That was definitely
That was
Pam.
kind of Pam. Yeah, I thought so.
And then it cuts to him at the club. It's so good. I loved how quickly all the characters devolved into their worst selves. We knew very early on at the beginning of this show how terrible everyone was in their real lives, and that nobody was qualified to be a good person or do their job well.
Yeah, I mean, Aisha was kind of a good person, I think. I mean, Lana, rather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was actually more responsible than the rest of us. Actually really showed up to do her job.
Yeah. Cyril tried to.
Yep. But
We talked about Cyril before, and it's sad because it almost seems like all his faults are always put upon him. Like the compulsive masturbation thing was not a thing that was in his character, but then he used it as an excuse one time, and then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, you just masturbate all the time, and then eventually that became what he was, and it's just like he takes all the negative things people say about him, he takes it and makes it real, and it was really sad to me.
It is sad.
Oh man, that's definitely a diagnosis of some sort that I can't come up with at this time, but
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Another fun line, this was a Cheryl line, when they're all like in the bathroom, like tripping and vomiting, and Cheryl says, "I'm gonna die in a toilet stall just like the gypsy said."
The old gypsy woman, that comes back quite a few times.
It's so good. Is it always Cheryl that it comes? Is it always a Cheryl thing?
Yeah.
The gypsy woman thing?
Yeah, I think sometimes she says it about other characters too. Like Pam might say something and she'll go, "Oh, just like the old gypsy woman said," or something like that.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add that there are a couple of really great art moments, animation and art in that bathroom scene. The robot that Gillette turns into, and then
Yeah.
Cheryl in that lava bathroom is really well drawn. Those were
Yeah.
excellent
They were.
drawings.
I wrote that down too, the Decepticon that Gillette becomes, because he's got these two little baby feet that are like swinging back and forth.
And I like the connection between the Decepticon and earlier in the show when you were beatboxing. At the end of it, you go transform, and I was like, "Oh, that really."
Because she was thinking about robots.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
started tripping.
Is that from something? Transform? Other than Transformers?
What was the
wanna
name of that beatbox guy that we used to listen to, Casey? There was a guy who did a whole Transformers riff where he would like beatbox that he was transformed. Was it Rozelle?
I think it was Rozelle because he used to be with the Roots, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, Rozelle. He's the beatboxer. He's pretty amazing.
Would he say transform at the end of his beatboxes?
He would like be a transformer. He would like and he would like beatbox through the whole thing. It was and talk. He would also sing and beatbox at the same time.
Wow.
So he would beatbox and put like lyrics in. It was nuts.
That's very impressive.
Great.
When I say it was, but I assume he's still alive.
I also wrote down that it's great that Cyril, like, he's in this situation. Cyril's a field agent for the first time. And he gets in this sticky situation and then bluffs his way through to a point that's like, he's actually a better field agent than Lana and Archer are. And I love that he is the El Contador, which I didn't realize meant the accountant until I watched this episode again. I just think it's so great that he ends up being actually better than everybody else.
Well, yeah, he's better at pretending, I guess. But he's better at being sort of an infiltrator. I don't know if he's a better agent, but
Yeah.
Because at the end, it comes down to punching again, right?
exactly.
There is always punching. You can't get away from it.
I love that when Krieger is explaining to you the reason for the cost of the tea is because he first says I literally scoured the globe, and then he changes it to figuratively, and I just so appreciated that, because literally is always overused, and when it should really be figuratively most of the time.
Totally. It's
I
so
like
great.
that.
I love the box of tea looks exactly like what a box of herbal tea looks like. It's just so great that it's got his name on it. He's already got a label for it and everything.
Oh yeah.
I also loved, because I forget, and then every time I get reminded of it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's such a sweet little thing. Because there's not a lot of sweet things about the character of Archer, but the fact that he loves animals as much as he does, and
Yeah.
like he's so sad when the tiger gets shot that he can't even have sex with Lana, but he will watch her masturbate.
He keeps saying that it gets murdered.
Yeah.
He's saying the tiger was murdered.
Yeah.
There was another moment that goes really quickly, and the only reason I clocked it is because I am pretty sure it's Adam. It's a story that I've heard Adam tell before. So Calzado says, I think he gets shot. Does he get shot in the end? Does Calzado get shot?
You shoot Lana shoots the gun out of his hand.
Yes.
And he says, "What the hell, damn guy."
Yeah, what the hell, damn guy. And so the story that I know about damn guy is that Adam's a real motorcycle guy, and he was in, I believe, Thailand or maybe Vietnam. and he was riding motorcycles across Vietnam, and they were having, sometimes they would have mechanical issues, and they also had to have a guy get their motorcycles together for them before they got to Vietnam. So he had this guy that was like his motorcycle mechanic, and he kept like breaking shit, and shit was getting messed up on this like tour. And the guy said to Adam, "Oh, you damn guy," after Adam had like fucked something up for like the 6th time. And I'm only assuming that's where "you damn guy" comes from. And it's just such a great thing to say to somebody. You damn guy. Do you guys know that story?
Yeah, some of it, and I know he's used that even past in Frisky Dingo. What the hell, damn guy was something he used too. Like he loved that turn of phrase.
It's so good. Chris, do you have anything else about the episode before we get to trivia with Casey?
Oh man.
Well, I did not know that a group of crocodiles are called a bask.
Oh.
And that was, I think, Archer refers to a bask of crocodiles.
Is it bask with a K or a Q-U-E?
I assumed Q-U-E, but I didn't look it up.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I assumed it was
crocodiles.
with an SK, like they were all basking in the sun.
Oh,
Oh.
that might make more sense. That might make more sense. I thought it was because crocodiles originated in the Basque region of whatever.
And they love that burnt cheesecake.
They're from Spain. Crocodiles are from Spain. We didn't know this whole time. It's so funny. Anything else?
I love the Stargate reference at the top. I love that there's
Yeah,
a
right out of the
sci-fi
gate.
reference right out of the gate. That's pretty awesome.
Do you know that Matt and Adam, one of their first jobs was working for Showtime, and they did a lot of interstitial work for Stargate?
Oh wow! I don't think I did know that.
Yeah.
What,
So they,
what kind of interstitial work? Like what does that mean?
any of those like Showtime behind the scenes, and they would be just hanging out with the Stargate guys and
Right.
doing behind the scene interviews with them.
Son of a gun. Son of a gun.
Was this in New York? Wait, where was Stargate
Yeah,
made?
They-
In New York?
It was in New York.
Stargate's been a Canadian production for a long time.
But they know a lot of Stargate lore.
Yeah.
Like
That's
big
Richard-
time.
Richard Dean Anderson, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I
There's
met
some
him
Stargate
I met him at
references
a Comic-Con once. Very nice guy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's time, Casey.
Yeah. Well,
For
we were
Casey's
just
trivia.
fantastic. We were just talking about crocodiles, which is one of Archer's biggest fears. And he references the Orinoco crocodile. In 1988, who had a big hit
Enya.
with... I couldn't even get it out. Fantastic. Look at that. That should be double points because he got it before. Yes, Enya had the hit Orinoco Flow, parentheses, Sail Away in 1988.
Wow.
I love
Chris, are
that
you a
song.
big Enya fan?
I was a big Enya fan, yes.
Wow.
I had a an old Sony like alarm clock thing that had a built-in CD player, and so I would wake up to that Enya album. I don't know if that was the song I would wake up to, but I loved that video. I remember just being like mesmerized by it. I just thought it was so cool. This was like college.
I love this. This is such a nice insight into who is Chris
What a dork
Parnell.
I am. Yeah, absolutely.
You were dressed up like Teddy Roosevelt at one point. In 1912, a group of Republicans upset with the nomination of Taft got together and formed a new party and nominated Teddy Roosevelt as their candidate for president. What is the name of that party?
I mean, one of the few parties I know the name of that is not around is the Whig Party, but I don't think that would have been.
This is
what they call
after
this.
Whigs. So
Yeah. I don't know, the Teddies? I don't know.
it was the Progressive Party, or more colloquial name, the Bull Moose Party.
The Bull Moose.
And actually, when we were in, we were in Milwaukee? Is that where he got shot? I feel like the hotel we stayed at had a plaque that was like, and this spot is where Teddy Roosevelt got shot.
Wow.
And then he had his speech in his pocket.
Right.
And it went through the speech and only barely lodged in his chest, and he still went and did the speech, and he says, "It takes more than this to kill a bull moose," and the crowd went crazy. He did not win the
Story.
presidency, though.
I remember the thing about the thing in his pocket protecting him. Yeah.
All right, I have one more trivia question.
Okay, going into the third question, you already have 73 points, Chris.
Ooh, wow. Amazing.
Right, I'm 70.
Double point.
She didn't tell you get points during the
Yeah.
podcast, too.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
taking tally of points the whole time.
Okay.
Calzado had a zoo in this episode, and that's actually a reference to a real-life drug lord who had a menagerie on his compound. And actually, once he was killed, the government didn't know what to do with it and just let the hippos run free. And now Colombia has a horrible hippo problem where they have all these invasive hippos. Do you know the name of that drug dealer?
I don't know the names of too many drug dealers. There's one that I'm trying to think of.
Famous Colombian drug dealer.
Yeah. Not El Chapo, is it?
No, I think he's Mexican, and that's a little too. This was a
Recent.
little more 80s.
Yeah. I'll know it when you say it, but I'm not going to remember it.
It's Pablo Escobar.
Oh,
There you go.
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
And I know we're not
Okay,
in the habit of plugging other things, but there's a really great ESPN 30 for 30 called The Two Escobars about Pablo Escobar and then this other soccer player who had the last name Escobar. It's fantastic.
Those 30 for 30s, I'm not a sports person, and they're always good.
They're really good.
They're always good. Okay, Chris, your total is 67 points.
Whoa.
67 points.
So I lost points since you
Yeah.
said I answered.
Yeah. It's really complicated how the math works, so I don't want to bore you with how it works, but
Okay.
Amber, do you want to tell us
67
the standings of all the other competitors so far?
yes, Aisha got 87 points for one of the episodes she did. Lucky got only 12 points, I think.
Oh,
And then on another one of Aisha's episodes, I believe she had 32 points. So you're winning, Chris,
well,
by a lot.
I'm not beating Aisha's highest scores.
Yeah, she's got the.
Oh, well, yeah, right, you're right. Well, you're in second place then.
Okay, yeah.
Second place.
I don't know if you were averaging her scores. I was like, you really don't
I
understand
trust her
math.
scores
do
at
you,
all,
Amber?
Amber. It sounds like your scores are just.
I don't understand math. No. What's the disorder called? It's like math. It's like,
Dyscalculic.
yeah, dyscalculate.
Calculic, I believe.
Oh, calculic. This has been Rephrasing, an Archer Rewatch podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at RephrasingPod. Email us questions at rephrasingpod@gmail.com. Please, no pictures of your penis. That's just inviting pictures of their penis, isn't it? Rephrasing is produced by Amber Nash, Casey Willis, and Christian Danley. Our theme song is by Matt Hobbs. I'd like to say a special thank you to Raymond Carr, Jasmine Nash, and Jonathan Strickland. And don't forget, FX's Archer is now streaming on Hulu.
Hey everybody, Season 8 of Rick and Morty is coming on May 25th on Adult Swim. Check it out.